Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I am behind schedule as happens occasionally, but let's get into it. How dare Ian Benz put out a tweet called Ripple Buyback. Ripple to buy back 285 million of its shares, valuing the company at $11 billion. Here's Reuters. They're going to buy, known for $280 million worth of shares from early investors and employees. Two sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. Investment, also known as a tender offer, valued the company at $11.3 billion. Investors are allowed to sell up to 6% of their stake. The private held company confirmed the tender offer and said it plans to spend $500 million in the planned buyback to cover the cost of converting restricted stock units into shares and taxes. It expects to do more share buybacks on a regular basis to provide liquidity for investors, and has no plan to go public in the United States anytime soon due to regulatory uncertainty, said Brad Garlinghouse. He said Ripple now holds over $1 billion in cash and over $25 billion worth of crypto, mostly XRP coins, on its balance sheet. The offering comes on a partial win. I think you get the picture. Just so you know, right, they don't have it right this second, but I mean, I think they've got it where they can add it on the platform every once in a while on Link2, who is one of my sponsors. I'm buying Ripple share on the Link2 platform. I've been buying Ripple shares and Circle shares, and that's what I'm kind of focused on right now. But there's a lot of other issues on there. Ripple, they'll after this announcement, who knows? They might add Ripple on there today. We'll see. Okay. Here's what I wanted to show you on this. Brad Garlinghouse liked this tweet, the one about that Eleanor Terrett had put out about the Valkyrie chief investment offer, saying that you could see a Ripple, an XRP ETF. That's a pretty strong like from Brad Garlinghouse. Robert Kiyosaki is calling for $150,000 Bitcoin. Glad I bought years ago. Bitcoin to 150K, gold to the moon as central banks buy, store, and never sell. Silver to crash as silver stackers sell to pay bills caused by rising inflation. Great news for silver stackers. Time to buy more as silver crashes. It's all good news except for losers who save fake fiat US dollars. I will be buying more gold, silver, and Bitcoin with fake dollars. Check this out, Eleanor Terrett. New, the CBOE says it has received an approved Invesco application to list its Invesco Galaxy Bitcoin ETF. Now, there's something afoot here, folks. Here's Prometheum. You see the flag from that country that starts with a C. Prometheum. This is the only company that has gotten approval from Gary Gensler. They've achieved another incredible milestone. I mean, they and Joseph Lubin, they can come and talk anytime they want. They get approvals. They and SBF, that is. He was working on approval too. Achieved another incredible milestone. Prometheum Capital received a first of its kind approval to clear and settle digital asset securities. That's the same terminology Gary Gensler uses. We've obtained all approvals required for digital asset custody. And remember, let's not forget, China. Okay? Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, which can't be weighed lightly. Look, he's been digging. CBOE, who acquired Joe Lubin's ErisX and will launch their Bitcoin and Ethereum futures scheduled for tomorrow. Makes you wonder if that Gary Gensler, the supposed hack, was not a coincidence. Like maybe there was some manipulation going on. They were still meeting with Gensler in July 2023. This product will be supported by trading firms including Cumberland DRW. Cumberland is directly tied to Wang Zhang, the Ethereum Foundation, and Shapeshift from Block 1 on Ethereum. Truth Labs had pointed out It's interesting to me that Cumberland DRW was the original founder of Bitfinex 3. That's interesting because Cumberland is the minter of almost half of the USDT ever minted. Cumberland is also tied to the Ethereum Foundation, Wang Zhang, and Shapeshift from Block 1 on Ethereum. Folks, all roads lead you nowhere. And then Mark Yusko weighs in. He's retweeting Cowboy's thing about Gary Gensler meeting with the CBOE who acquired Lubin's ErisX, 11/13/2023. Right there. Mark Yusko says, hashtag this is bad. Probably not a coincidence that futures being launched the same day Bitcoin ETF starts trading. Could create a myriad of spoofing opportunities for JP Morgan et al., like in the gold market. So they're getting ready to be able to manipulate the Bitcoin market is what that, I mean, folks, write it down. Just by coincidence, Maria Bartiromo is going to get Jamie Dimon to weigh in on Bitcoin.
There's also new regulation coming on Bitcoin, and you famously said recently that you would shut it down if you were in government. Can you give us more clarity on that?
What I've always said is that Bitcoin doesn't have value, and I don't care what other people do with Bitcoin, but what I was also pointing out is that the actual use cases are sex trafficking, tax avoidance, anti-money laundering, terrorism financing. It's not people just buying and selling Bitcoin. There's no value to, if you're buying and selling Bitcoin.
It's been a rough.
Okay, and then Jay Clayton was on CNBC to weigh in on all of this. Watch this.
You say that Bitcoin essentially should be trusted more, right? And I keep thinking of Jamie Dimon not too long ago saying that if he were the government, he would ban it.
Let me say this. I didn't say Bitcoin should be trusted more, and I'm not saying that Bitcoin's going to be worth a lot or a little. What I'm saying is the dynamics of Bitcoin trading and people owning it are better understood and disclosed. And to go back to Carl's...
Are they? I mean, last year was a disastrous year as far as SBF and CZ and the criminal charges and the fines. It doesn't feel more trustworthy.
Well, I don't think the offshore crypto ecosystem is any more trustworthy.
You mean the offshore ecosystem that you guys enabled by not doing anything in the United States to provide any kind of regulatory clarity?
You look at those frauds, they weren't involved in Bitcoin per se. The Bitcoin distributed ledger...
Did you ever see him go after Tether, by the way?
As far as I can tell, is operating as it had been intended to from the beginning. So, but have people taken advantage of that and the euphoria, particularly offshore and unregulated places, to do really terrible stuff? Yes, they have. I think one of the things that's happening here is you're bringing Bitcoin, but also digital assets, into the regulated ecosystem.
Okay. So then we've got people that are wondering if the SEC needs to be investigated.
What happens if another company did this? The SEC, I think, would be all over it, investigating, trying to find out what happens. Who investigates the SEC?
That's a great question. You're exactly right that if this was any public company, the SEC would be immediately opening an investigation. They'd be calling the company's general counsel. They'd be letting them know to retain documents and evidence and asking a lot of questions about how this could happen. With the SEC, I think you're looking at Congress, I imagine, will have questions. The DOJ, I imagine, will be involved, although likely looking more at the potential hacker as opposed to, looking at the SEC itself. And since Bitcoin is a commodity, the CFTC could also be involved.
I mean, what's so concerning about this is the agency that's responsible for policing the markets, making sure that there's not this
well, how many crimes are you going to let the guy get away with? I mean, they act like they're shocked. How many times are you going to let this guy get away with criminal acts and no repercussions? All he gets is a letter. His worst case scenario is a letter from Congress.
And make or lose money, make other people lose money on this. With the turn of events, somebody pointed out, and this is very clear, this announcement came out, this fake announcement. It wiped out people who used options to short Bitcoin. The SEC immediately retracts it and said that this was a false tweet that had gone out. And then everybody who had used options to go long on Bitcoin loses money too. What happens?
I mean, it was a market-moving event. I mean, it really underscores how important cybersecurity is, which is one of the things the SEC and Chair Gensler have been speaking about so much. But it also underscores how complicated cybersecurity is and how hard it is to react in a crisis, and how even, I think it was 15 minutes that they believe the hacker had access to the account. In those 15 minutes, approximately $90 million of long and short positions were liquidated on Bitcoin. It's an incredibly important area. And the SEC, I think, got a direct lesson in how challenging an area it is.
I don't think they got any lesson. I think that this is pure manipulation on Gary Gensler's part. And why wouldn't he? This guy's never been held accountable for anything. Now, we're going to go into DAIXRP.com. We're going to talk about Dr. Evil. We're going to talk about folks, we live in some bizarre times. I'll tell you that. We live in some bizarre times. And it is... every day is interesting to watch. I have to say that. But I'm going to show you some of the bizarre goings on right now. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family. We're going to talk some Dr. Evil in the group today. Here we go.